Good evening and welcome to a scene that is set in the bunker, or what is practically a bunker, just after a little meeting has taken place. Theodore and Selena are making their way. Selena hasn't actually seen this part of this place. Theodore has opened a, well, quotations door, which is essentially a hidden door, uh, around some stuff, and they've actually proceeded downward and are now in a room um, that she hasn't been in before. It's a larger room, but it's filled with um, well, different sort of stuff. There is a makeshift table with um, what looks like maps over it, under it, on it. There is like notebooks, but there's also a familiar looking instrument that she has seen before. Once they met at the opera house, he played on it. Um, a small, it's not a piano, but a smaller version of piano. Different instrument, but and a bit of knickknacks and stuff that seems to be more stored here than is on display. But for the moment, it seems like his some of his private belongings are just stuffed down here, and he'll just please come in, make yourself at home, I suppose. No, please sit down, and he will offer her a fairly comfortable chair.
She would take the seat and look around the room. Her eyes would linger on the piano, and she would smile up at him. She clearly feels very comfortable in his presence. She likes being around him, and that would reflect in her body language and how relaxed she is. And she would gesture to the piano. I see you've brought a few home comforts with you, darling.
Oh, it is more than a home comfort. It is one of my most prized possessions, to be honest. He just goes over to it. He stands there for a couple of moments looking at it. Um, and he just lets his hand just slide over the notes on it. As about he's about to play. Do you know why this is one of my most prized possessions?
Please tell me, darling.
It was its original owner, you see. Its original owner is one of the people who meant a great deal to me in my time. I'm quite sure you know the person.
She would raise an eyebrow. I would know them.
Quite sure.
Um,
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was the first original owner of this particular instrument.
her face would light up. How wonderful, darling. No wonder it is such an important possession of yours.
Quite so.
And he'd be able to see that she was kind of favoring one hand slightly, with it kind of in her lap, cradled with the other hand as she sits.
I feel as though I must, well, explain my behavior last night in the presence of such a magnanimous beauty of your plan. The two of us have history, I suppose you call it. Needless to say, well, we are not on the best of terms. Why she hasn't been around her husband more? Well, reasons. She's, of course, busy sniffing and making herself busy in the old world. There are Elysians to tend to and people to have grovel at your feet, but, well, it's a long and boring story, really, but needless to say, we are not on each other's Christmas cards list.
Selena would smile and nod with an understanding expression. I did guess that things were somewhat strained between the two
Well,
of you.
the English word freak does convey a certain amount of disdain, doesn't it? No, please.
It does, darling. And I apologize that not all members of my clan can be more open-minded. It is a flaw that many have, I do admit.
Well, truth be told, as a knower of people, in her case, I would believe that she was spoiled from birth to a certain lavishness that does not lend itself to accepting those less fortunate than oneself. I cannot say it is entirely her fault.
Although
And that is all the, well, leniency I will give her.
a lavish lifestyle should not necessarily equate to a mean personality, but I'm sure my lady has her reasons, and it is not my place to question them.
Well,
He'd tell that
not
she's trying to be diplomatic.
not not all women in this world can be as breathtakingly beautiful and graceful, diplomatic and kind as you are.
Well, your words flatter me, darling. I thank
I
you.
surely hope so. But please, please, relax at least for the moment. I am. It is a long story. I do not wish to bore you with it. Tell
Darling,
me.
you could never bore me.
Well, needless to say, I was very young. I apparently, well, I did, out of having recently been embraced, what shall we say, offended her. She took offense to that personally. She asks for the right distraction. And yet, on every turn, I proved her to be a boon for the Camarilla, and, well, I took that as a, I would say, understandable slight against my person. And our, which was the rivalry has continued ever since. Oh well, oh well. Such is the way of kindred politics. You cannot be alive for so long without incurring the wrath of others. Oh well, I do not hold it against her personally. That's
Selena nods with a kind of knowing expression of it. She clearly understands the business of making enemies, and she she almost looks quite thoughtful for a moment and says, "But Theodore, darling, how long do you think that she will be sticking around? Is this a long-term thing, or do you think she will move on?"
well, I think she is already making her way to Europe at this point, if I know her well enough. So we won't be having to. Trust me, she does not want to be in the same hemisphere if she could help it as me. She will have to do with the old world.
That seems to please Selena. She relaxes even more, and her face seems to brighten at that news.
I do not know her mind, of course, but Her self-righteousness, her sense of, well, luxury. Not that there's anything wrong with luxury, but you see, she's not a person to stick around to avenge her dead husband or to fight for the Camarilla. No, 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 there's not enough sycophants here, not enough lavish Elysiums where she can have people grovel and drool over her. She much prefers the self-righteousness of her own. He's about to say farts, but he stops himself, looks at her. The smell of her perfumes in her lavish homes like in the old world. Again, boring subject. Don't we have anything more important or at least more entertaining to talk about?
Well, darling, there was something I meant to ask you about. You, I get the impression that you don't approve of Lucy,
Lucy.
the the,
Um,
the Toreador fledgling, the innocent, beautiful little sweetheart she is. I can't imagine why you wouldn't adore her as much as everyone else seems to.
he stops, looks at her. Well, we should. I mean, I do appreciate her. I have nothing against her. On the contrary, she is a very lovely person. She's. Why would you have gotten that impression? I have
You're,
nothing against her at all, and I wish for us to find her as soon as possible.
as do I, darling. Just your. Oh,
I'm going to roll something. Just could you roll me a perception empathy roll?
yeah. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 5?
Yeah, and he has 6. So I mean, he seems quite genuine when he says that.
She would nod with a satisfied expression. I don't know, darling. I must have been mistaken. I thought I picked up something, but
Well, it was trying times. It was well. The safety needs to be guaranteed, and that is what is important. Um, I mean, he's a picture perfect sample of composure and seems silly, but you cannot help because you did have 5 successes. You cannot help, like, at the moment, he just stops, looks at her, and just says, well, yes, yes, her safety should be guaranteed. I think I will accompany you if you find something.
I'd like that, darling. Thank you. I shall start making inquiries. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure that we move in similar circles. She seemed such a quiet little soul. I'm not quite sure
Of
where to begin the
that,
search.
of that, I am quite sure. He just smiles.
So I'm not quite sure where to begin my search, but I shall certainly put out some feelers and see if she's been seen anywhere.
Well, I would appreciate that very much. Perhaps
I
we can make it an expedition, the two of us,
hmm,
looking in the city, searching for the lost adventure. An
that
adventure.
that would be delightful, darling. You know I so enjoy your company.
Well, we can have Isaac maybe. Maybe he can accompany us.
Hmm. You know,
Uh,
I long for all of this trouble to be over for so many reasons, but amongst them is certainly the opportunity to revisit the opera with you, darling. I had a lot of fun that night.
Well, looks at her. Hmm. While we cannot go to the opera, well, I would. You can see that he becomes almost like jittery, and he just tends to just um, becomes a little impatient. He looks at her. Would you and he just well maybe the opera could come to well no. Yeah. And he looks very much as he's I'll say that your role from before still. I mean, his demeanor changes in a way that maybe he wants you to say, "Please go ahead," or give him like the okay or something.
Yeah, she would lean forward and look at him eagerly. No, please, darling, continue. What were you going to say?
But maybe the opera could come to us. Maybe.
And she looks really pleased about that, but a little confused at the same time. And
Well, it won't
how
be
could that
opera,
be?
but Theodore will just. He looks a bit more childish, like he's just a well. The mix between someone who is showing like his friends a trick he's learned, something cool, or uh, as someone who hasn't been able to do something that he enjoys for a while. You will just go and close the entrance to this room. Make sure of something. Oh, uh, well, and he gets over to the instrument, begins to play, and just you can see he begins to clear his throat and begins to do some what you think are warm-ups. Manu, 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 manu. He will just begin some scales and some things, and he's just seems to be warming up his voice.
Selena would sit back, her attention glued on him, um, hoping that she's actually going to get to hear him sing.
And after like a couple of minutes where he's just been playing and warming up his voice, he will um, indeed um, begin to sing. And he will sing uh, like an 8 minute long piece from a Wagner opera, which is very dramatic and very, very beautiful. Of course, it's not having the impact because there's no choir, which is a part of it, but he will sing this. And he is very, very good at this. You're quite sure that you probably heard people as good, maybe better, but you're not sure. Uh, Given your circles, you have heard some of the very best singers. Maybe not, perhaps not opera as much, but other singers. But then again, opera is a bit of a different from stage singing. You're quite sure that if you had Auspex on for hearing, it would hurt because he's singing very loud. You're quite sure like, he could easily fill an opera house with this voice. It's very powerful and it is quite beautiful. And I would like to have you roll a self-control roll because this is quite beautiful.
Oh,
Wow. Um, as you stop, you seem to be almost lost in this. Well, you are lost in this parade, this onslaught of vocals, and just like he's a tenor, so it is rather high for a man, but again, this beautiful, it just sweeps you off, and you're just transfixed by this beautiful voice, and also the music. He knows exactly how to play it in with the like, so it has an impact, so it doesn't get completely drowned out by the voice. It's almost being drowned out, but there is a hint of the instrument as well.
As
And
she's listening to it, she would be lent, sitting forward in her seat, her eyes wide, kind of mouth slightly open, just completely, entranced by what she's hearing. She would have brought her injured hand kind of up to her chest as she's listening to it, just kind of clutching her hands there, completely absorbed by the music.
as he finishes, a good 9 minutes later, he will just bow, but he will look at her, and he will just will just look at her and just nod to himself, and he will sit down and just give her time. He will give her like 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, to just sit there and, well, enjoy the feeling. Maybe he's not quite sure. He will just give her time, and after like 10 minutes, he will go over to her, and he will have a glass, and he will just wake her, just shake her a bit, and bring her out of the trance.
She kind of wakes up from her reverie and takes the glass that he offers and slump back in her chair with this big kind of almost, like, I suppose what could be described as like a post-sex smile, just a really satisfied, almost sleepy smile on her face. And she just looks to him and says, "There are no words, darling. You perform so beautifully. I thank you."
Well, well, I have had a lot of practice. He smiles genuinely to her, and he will take up a flask, um, open it, and he'll just say, "Well, I was saving this for a special occasion, but I think this will have to do." And he will pour blood in the glass to himself and to her. Mm. A good,
She will
a gift
raise.
from our good friend the Tremere. Preserve the blood for a while, and do not worry, it is safe to drink.
Sorry, children. Um, she would raise her glass and bow her head to him and say, "When I'm with you, darling, it is always a special occasion. Cheers."
And they will just hit the glasses, and you will say, "Cheers." And they will drink, and Theodore just looks at her. He seems quite satisfied. Uh, Maybe the effect on her was something he had hoped for. Just, well, your your reaction is better than an applause from a filled audience.
Well, anytime you require an appreciative audience, please, Theodore, darling, you just need to let me know. I would be honored to listen to you perform anytime.
Mm. Of that I am sure. Ah, um, sad to say that we probably have to. Well, we have much work to do, and we have a fledgling to find. Um, You are, of course, welcome to stay here for the moment if you wish to. But I will have some work I need to see to.
Yes, darling, as you say, there is much to do, and I just hope that the coming nights will prove not as troubling as last night was.
Well, we can only hope.
Mm, yes, certainly. But I thank you for your time, and again for your performance. And
Think
if
nothing
I
of it.
if I learn anything of Lucy's whereabouts, then I shall come straight to you.
I thank you. He,
Otherwise, we can set out on our mission to find her together.
I would appreciate that. And he will open the door for her and beat her out.
And she returns to the main bunker.
And as she leaves this private area, the scene will come to a close. Thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.